Hello, friend, and welcome back to Torches, Yoga, and Mindfulness. I'm Lauren, and I'll be your coach. My friend, today I have for you yoga that's not just for yogis. Yoga for those that thought they never would have been interested in yoga. And for yogis who feel like some poses are just a little bland. In today's video, we're going to explore 7 different modifications for child's pose so you can fit it to your body and your needs. Plus a bonus modification tip at the end, so make sure you stick around. If you sit at a desk or in a vehicle for long hours at a time, if you lift heavy things for work, if you've got lower back pain or hip and joint pain, this one's for you. Child's pose is often seen as a restful posture in yoga, but the truth is it's not always restful and comfortable for some. So let's rethink this pose, because it's a simple yet powerful healing pose for our bodies. Not only does child's pose help with digestion, flexibility, range of motion, it also helps to gently stretch our lower backs, our thighs, and helps with the pain we have in our hip flexors. It also lengthens our spine and strengthens our ligaments, induces relaxation, reduces stress, relieves tension, calms our nervous system, and balances our emotions. All this from a simple child's pose. To modify the child's pose today, we will be working with some props. Like we've got our blocks, I've got my bolster, you see back here, I've got a pillow, and I've got some rolled up blankets that we'll use as our props in place. In place of the bolster here, you can use a rolled up comforter if you don't have that. And remember, if you don't have a block, you can use books or even soup cans. So if you've got a mat, grab it. If not, that's perfectly fine too. You can place a nice comfy blanket or something down on the floor so that you can lay down. We do want to have a flat surface to work on for this. So grab your props and I'll meet you on the mat. All right, friend. So let's start by talking about what child's pose is and what it looks like in its original form and posture, okay? If you're working with a yoga mat, I'm going to be lengthways on my mat. That way I have the whole distance of it to fold forward, because that's essentially what we're going to do. So for child's pose, you can start from your tabletop position to get your alignment and get a feel of where everything goes when I'm talking about your hands and knees. And from our tabletop position, we're going to bring our big toes together just so they're touching on the mat. I'm going to separate my knees just a little bit because I like to have a little bit extra room there. And then from our tabletop here, we're just going to sink our hips back and stretch our hands forward, placing your forehead down on the mat. Of course, to link it to your breath, you'll exhale as you do that deep stretch forward. If you feel squished when you're in child's pose, if you feel like that forward fold just crams everything up and it's squished and it's uncomfortable, give your knees a little bit more space. Spread them out just a little bit wider so that you can fit there between your thighs. It gives you a little bit more comfort. All right, friend. So let's talk about how we can modify it now. If you're looking for comfort, relief, or restoration from your child's pose, these first 4 modifications are going to be for you. So first, let's talk about our blanket. Remember our little holiday blankets here? They're rolled up in the stores for like $3 to $5 a piece. They're all over the place. These are wonderful to use as props and just support and some cushioning in our yoga practices or non-yoga practices as you give your body that relief it needs after a hard day. So first, some people find the pressure on the ankles we experience in child's pose to be uncomfortable, which is perfectly fine and reasonable. So we're going to take our blanket there, rolled up. I'm just going to place it underneath my ankles. Still going to have my big toes together. Still going to be able to spread my knees just a little bit apart. And then I'll sink down into my child's pose. With my ankles now have extra cushion and padding so they're nice and comfortable. The next modification we can take is going to be with a pillow. Now I've got one that's kind of thin. We don't want to use a super plush one. Really, the thinner the better here for you. And this, if you feel like the bend in the knee is too deep to sit all the way back down into your ankles or to send your hips back, In the child's pose, this pillow comes right on top of your calves underneath your seat so that when we extend into our child's pose, we have that extra support so we don't have to sink all the way down. Keeping in mind, underneath the pillow, I've still got my big toes touching and my knees spaced where I have it the most comfortable. All right, what do we got next? When you go to hinge forward at the hips and fold forward, whether you're reaching down to pick something up, whatever kind of activities you're doing, not just this child's pose, but if you're getting that pain there in the front top of your hips, that's your hip flexors. And that's telling us that your hip flexors are tight. So to give them a little bit of support so that they don't give that pinchy, uncomfortable sensation, we're going to take one of our other blankets. We could use the same one, but I've got two today. So instead of it being rolled up, I'm going to flatten it out, and I'm going to bring it just kind of like a lap blanket here, and I'm going to place it up into that crease of my hips so that when I go to take my forward fold, it puts a little pressure on them, but it's a good pressure that helps them to relax, the hip flexors. By folding forward like this, it takes some of that tension off. All right, but have no fear. If that still does not relieve that discomfort you may feel in those hip flexors, we're going to take the restoration up a notch. But before we do, let's try one more modification to help us feel comfortable in that forward fold child's pose. If you find that that forward fold to bring our forehead down to the mat brings too much tension or strain to your back, your shoulders, your neck, well, we definitely don't want that. Remember, our goal with yoga is to find that nice fine line, that balance between effort and ease. So let's make it a little bit easier if getting down to the mat is just a little bit too difficult right now. So we're going to take our block, maybe even two of them if you need. And we're going to place them about where my forehead would go today. Demonstrate with just one here, and that's all there is to it. This is going to be where I'm going to bring my forehead to instead of down to the mat, and it gives me that extra space. If 2 blocks is too tall, but 1 block isn't quite enough space, turn it up a notch to that other speed. Take it even further to that next speed, which I think is about the same as 2 blocks, but you get it. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Still going to keep my knees as the same distance apart. Still going to have my big toes touching behind. And then I'm going to take a nice deep inhale and hinge at the hips, folding forward. Slide my block in. Beautiful. All right. So that's 4 ways to modify child's pose to be able to find more comfort in your pose so you can get the rest and relaxation you need. Now this 5th modification is another one to help us get deeper into that relaxation, and it's going to take it to that restorative yoga. So this is where you're going to want to grab that comforter rolled up, or if you do have a bolster or a nice thick pillow, anything like that, that's where we're going to bring in now. All right, so we're just going to have it laying in front of us, ready to surrender and to just melt into our pillow. I'm going to bring it between my knees just a little bit, and then I'm going to take my forward fold in the child's pose right over this bolster so that it can support me. And when we're down, using the bolster in child's pose, you can either have your forehead on the bolster itself or turn to either side, whichever feels most comfortable for you. In this posture, it's where you're really going to get that support and just be able to melt into it. There's a lot more ease than effort in child's pose supported like this. Beautiful. Before I get too relaxed and ready to rest for the evening, let's talk about a few more modifications. All right, friend, if you're looking to get more out of your child's pose, then these next 2 modifications are for you. So grab your blocks. This modification for child's pose is one of my favorites. So I've got a shoulder injury from years ago, and it's still a part of my life very much. So I love any opportunities and any poses that help me get that extra openness, that extra extension to really stretch out my shoulders. This one's going to get us there. So you're going to take your blocks. I like to just go ahead and keep them in my hands so I can land them in the right place. Make sure our base is set up. Remember, if you want, since I'm sitting here for a minute, I'm going to go ahead and cushion my ankles a little bit. Make sure we've got our big toes touching, our knees to our comfort width apart. I'm going to grab my blocks, extend my spine nice and tall, I'm going to hinge at the hips and fold forward with my hands or my forearms on the blocks. And that's going to give that extra extension, that extra flexion in my shoulders. And to take that flexion a little bit deeper, we can bring the blocks up under our elbows so it really ensures that lift for our shoulders. And take your head all the way down to the mat. Inhale, rise up. Beautiful. For the next modification, this is the last singular modification I have, and then we'll talk about that bonus one after this. But for this next one, we're only going to need one block. Set that one to the side. So for our child's pose with a twist, literally, we're going to take our block, leave it here close to our side, and we're going to move down into our regular standard child's pose. And then once I'm down, I'm going to take a little inhale and rise back up. And I'm going to thread the needle with my right hand. So I'm going to bring it through and stretch with a twist. Placing the hand, and you can even do it without the block. You can place the hand on the floor, or you can place the hand on the block, whatever speed you need to be able to give you that extra space to get that twist in. I've got to balance it out. So I'm going to bring my block over here to the other side. Fold down, inhale, just fold down. Inhale just a bit, bring my hand out, and give that twist. This is great for stretching the shoulders out. Love it. You've been over a keyboard all day. Mama, this is where it's at. Nice deep exhales, remember, will help us get that muscle relaxation we're looking for. All right, friend. So we've covered 7 different individual ways to modify just one simple yet powerful yoga pose, child's pose. Now, my bonus tip for you is, drum roll, please, stack your mods. If you want to feel fully supported and like you're cuddled in a cloud, use all the comfort items you need to make that comfortable. And I'll even show you what it looks like. We're going to bring our blanket underneath our ankles. I'm going to bring my pillow on top of my calves under my seat. I'm going to bring my other blanket. See, this is why I had 2. And I'm going to sit back, placing this other blanket in the creases of my hips here to take that pain off the hip flexors. Then I'm going to grab my bolster, give our knees a little bit of width, tuck it here in between, and even we can modify our bolster because we still don't have to go all the way down. I'm going to stack it up with my blocks. Literally used every prop we talked about today to get this somatic relaxation and restorative child's pose. Take a nice deep inhale, and on the exhale, fold forward into it. You can hug it. Good night. See you later. Bye, friend. Just kidding. Just kidding. But we can also use our modifications to get a little more out of it as well. That twist we talked about and that extra extension we talked about, we can do them at the same time. So I would have one block under my forearm and one block for my arm that's going to thread the needle. See what that looks like. Got my posture set, big toes touching, knees separated. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold down onto my block, thread the needle, and get that twist. All right, and then to switch it up, we just slide everything over. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Exhale down and twist. Inhale, rise up. All right, friends, so there you have it. One simple pose that we saw today 9 different ways. And I don't do math. Maths and me, not my friend. But whoever does, maybe they can tell you with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 props how many different variations we can do just by mixing it up and changing it up. This is the fun part of yoga that no one tells you about. You don't have to follow some doctrine. You can make it work for you. So have fun with it. Try different modifications and listen to your body for what's right for you. And I would love to hear in the comments if you have any modifications to your exercises, your yoga practice, anything like that that you use in your daily life that you'd like to share. I'd love to see that in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future weekly uploads. And definitely make sure you jump on over to Instagram, follow me there so you get your daily dose of mindfulness. Thank you for joining me for this Child's Pose workshop, my friend. Stay present, stay kind to yourself, and I'll see you soon.